Across any medium and genre of fiction, what type of character is consistently the most annoying? Yeah, this tends to happen a lot. When a story introduces a side character designed to make the audience laugh, they can easily end up making us groan and roll our eyes instead. For whatever reason, the comic relief sidekick is one of the trickiest types of character to write well. So I want to figure out why it's so hard to write them, how to do them right, and how to do them wrong. As usual, I'm starting with a definition. Maybe you're wondering why I'm even bothering. The concept of comic relief sidekick is pretty straightforward. It's just a non-main character who's designed to be funny. But this trope is more specific than the name suggests. The thing that defines a comic relief sidekick is lack of agency and plot importance. They tag along with the main characters without helping much. They're only there for emotional support and to provide the audience with laughs. So for instance, the genie from Aladdin is a comic relief character, and he is a side character, but he's not a comic relief sidekick, because he's powerful, with consistent direct impact on the plot. Also, the fact that the sidekick is comic relief implies that the movie they're in is not mainly a comedy. The plot and the other characters should take things relatively seriously. That might be a little confusing, so it'd be helpful to get us situated with some specific examples. I'm going to list off some of the best and worst comic relief sidekicks that fit the established definition, based on the general cultural zeitgeist and my own personal opinion. The best, in no particular order: Timon and Pumbaa, Kronk, Donkey from Shrek, C-3PO, Dory, Todd from BoJack Horseman, Pintel and Raggedy from Pirates of the Caribbean. The worst: the Minions, Skids and Mudflap from Transformers, Jar Jar Binks, Scrappy-Doo, and anyone played by TJ Miller. Of course, there are more that I could have said, and also plenty of bland average ones. Those are the good ones and the bad ones, but what makes them good or bad? More specifically, what makes the bad ones annoying? Because that's the most commonly used descriptor for them, and it's also the cardinal sin of a fictional character. Annoying is the worst thing a character can be, because stories exist for entertainment, and an annoying character actively does the opposite of entertaining you. So what makes a comic relief character annoying? The simple answer is that they're not funny, but that isn't helpful. Humor is subjective. We need to dig into ways that attempts at humor can become grating. The big thing to keep in mind about a comic relief character is how they affect the tone. That's the whole point of them. They relieve us from a heavier tone by giving us a lighter one, for a few moments at a time. But shifting the tone can be risky. Keeping it consistent is part of what allows the audience to get invested. Changing it too drastically can break their immersion. Going from deadly serious to absurd slapstick humor and back again is going to make the audience wonder if they should take anything in the story seriously. But even the darkest stories can still be funny. The key is subtlety. A comic relief character should be able to crack jokes and do silly things while still feeling like a grounded part of the narrative. So they need to have emotional depth. Give the audience something about them to get invested in that's more than just a punchline. As a quick example, Dory is wacky and funny compared to the other characters in Finding Nemo, but she still feels like a real enough personality that you care when she gets hurt, and she can participate in the story's more emotional moments.
Please. I don't want that to go away. I don't want to forget.
There's a reason why most of the best comic relief sidekicks come from animated kids' movies. Animation can support a wider range of tones because it can stretch suspension of disbelief further than live action can. But what does a comic relief sidekick do that actually makes them funny? Well, to reiterate, a comic relief sidekick doesn't have a whole lot of agency. They're not the main character, they're not driving the plot forward, and they're probably not the most capable character in the story. They're just tagging along. So their comedy tends to come from their reaction to things in the story. How do they react to big, impactful circumstances that they have little to no control over? The different possible answers to that question give us the general pre-made flavors of comic relief sidekick. There's the snarky, quippy one, who has a solid understanding of what's going on even if they can't control it. They've got something sarcastic to say about everything that happens, and they probably disagree with the way the main character handles things. There's the scaredy cat who freaks out and runs away from everything, always finding themselves in horrible danger. There's the stupid one who never understands anything and has to be protected and guided by others. There's the high energy one who loves Leroy Jenkinsing into danger and messing up plans with their enthusiasm. And my personal favorite character archetype, the high-strung type A nervous wreck who keeps getting pulled out of their tiny, narrow comfort zone. I'm generalizing here, of course. Lots of characters can embody more than one of these traits at the same time. Also, any of these traits can describe the main character as well. The important thing is for the comic relief sidekicks to contrast the main characters. However the main characters react, they react in a different, less appropriate way that's both funny and doesn't lead to them stealing any glory from anyone more plot important. Here's where that becomes a problem though. If a comic relief sidekick isn't allowed to be super capable, that can get really frustrating to watch. If the sidekick doesn't contribute anything helpful ever, you start to wonder why they're even here at all. And if the sidekick actively hinders and gets in the way of the main character's goals, oh boy, that is a recipe for the most annoying character possible. When a character is supposedly a good guy, but they're so incompetent that they constantly screw up everything the other good guys are trying to do, you end up hating them more than the actual bad guys. It's critical that the comic relief sidekick has stuff to do, so that they justify their own existence beyond a few cheap jokes. Just like any character you're meant to root for, they have to give a reason for you to like them. Only then will any comedy they create be funny. So that's the gist of how to make a good comic relief sidekick. Don't let them change the tone too drastically. Give them emotions to ground them alongside the jokes. And don't make them totally useless. Give them something they can do well. To show how all of this works, I want to do a few case studies. Let's look at some comic relief sidekicks, some good, some bad, and some meh, to see those principles in action. Case study number 1, Olaf. Now, Olaf is a little more divisive than the other characters I've talked about. Little kids like him, and so do plenty of adults, but a lot of older audience members say he's annoying. And there's a reason for that divisiveness. Taking a look at the criteria I listed out earlier, Olaf fulfills all of them, but only kind of. First, the tone. Olaf is a lot goofier than everything else in the movie. He doesn't really break the emotional investment by making things too silly, but he does have a way of undercutting some of the more critical emotional beats.
Where I can be who I am without hurting anybody.
Actually, about that,
Wait, what is that?
Hey, I'm Olaf and I like warm hugs!
Next, character depth. I wouldn't say Olaf is especially complex as a character. And that goes double considering he's put right next to some of the most well-rounded Disney characters to date. His motivation is to see what summer is like, haha, so silly, right? And to a vague lesser extent, help out his friends. He doesn't feel much of anything beyond general cheerfulness. With one exception, when he saves Anna by lighting that fire. Him stating the theme there is one of the core emotional beats of the story.
Olaf, you're melting.
Some people are worth melting for.
And finally, agency. Olaf doesn't do much. He mostly tags along and watches things happen. He barely gets involved with the conflict at all. And since he's a snowman, he can't really get hurt, so there are no stakes when he's in danger. Mostly what he does is wander around and say clueless things, while literally falling to pieces every time something goes wrong. And on occasion, he'll try to do things despite Kristoff and Anna telling him not to, which is frustrating for them and the audience.
Give us a minute.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
He's not a contributing member to the team in any meaningful way. Again though, with one exception. When he lights that fire for Anna. That's the one thing he does in the whole movie that shows him with any agency or competence. I really think this one moment does a lot of heavy lifting in leaving an overall positive impression of this character. So in general, there's more good than bad in Olaf, but I think he could have been better. Case study number 2, C-3PO versus Jar Jar Binks. C-3PO is the comic relief in the original Star Wars trilogy, and Jar Jar is the comic relief in the prequels. Well, really just the Phantom Menace, because he sucked so bad that they reduced his role to almost nothing afterwards. 3PO is not perfect, but he's pretty well liked, whereas Jar Jar is universally hated. He might be considered the worst comic relief character of all time. Both of them fill the same role in the same franchise, so let's see if we can figure out why they evoke such different reactions. C-3PO's main source of comedy is him panicking and complaining. He's that high-strung nervous wreck type I mentioned earlier. In times of danger, he always assumes the worst.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1!
Never tell me the odds.
Jar Jar is supposedly funny because he's stupid and clumsy. There's a lot of slapstick comedy involved whenever he's on screen. Like 3PO, he's a mostly helpless tag-along character who's also a coward. But unlike 3PO, Jar Jar has no skills or redeeming traits whatsoever. He can't do anything right ever, and anytime he does help people, it's by accident. That's the biggest difference between the two. C-3PO is a valuable asset to the team, albeit a small one. He's not exactly a fighter, and he's also not great at problem solving either, but he's not completely useless. His purpose as a droid is to translate, and he never has trouble doing that.
Ask.
Ground naked.
We need some fresh supplies, too.
Chiyotoba.
Try and get our weapons back.
Roma frita.
Hurry up, will ya? I haven't got all day.
Plus, he's at least able to carry out basic instructions when he needs to.
Will you shut up and listen to me? Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level, will ya? Do you call me? Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level!
Jar Jar actively hinders the hero's progress by annoying people and breaking things and getting into danger that they then have to rescue him from. And to make things worse, Jar Jar commits one of the worst sins of any fictional character. He's rewarded for doing nothing. He's given a big group of friends who care about him and protect him just by being there. He's promoted to the general of the Gungan army just for hanging around them. And then there's the final battle, where Jar Jar Mr. Magoo's his way to victory by trying to run and hide. It all feels wrong because he doesn't do anything to earn it.
Uh-oh! Big Boomer!
3PO and Jar Jar both have a quality that instantly kicks the task of writing them into hard mode. In-universe, the other characters think they're annoying. The other good guys always want 3PO to stop complaining and Jar Jar to stop screwing up. Since we're primed to identify with these characters, you'd expect this to make us also think they're annoying. That's what happened with Jar Jar, but 3PO manages to escape it. Why do we still like him if the other characters hate him? Two simple reasons. First, the other characters have no reservations about telling 3PO to shut up when he gets too annoying. When he gets to be too much, they'll shut him down. Sometimes literally.
Surrender is a perfectly acceptable alternative in extreme circumstances. The Empire may be gracious enough.
Thank you.
The characters in The Phantom Menace are so frustratingly polite to Jar Jar. Sometimes it's like they don't even notice how much he sucks. Second, 3PO constantly has bad things happen to him. He's an underdog. He has uncommonly bad luck, and we get to laugh at his misfortune. And whenever he makes a bad decision, he gets punished for it. Whereas Jar Jar, as I already said, has all these good things happen to him through sheer dumb luck, and it doesn't feel earned. All of this primes you to like 3PO and hate Jar Jar. Case study number 3, Donkey from Shrek. Now Donkey, I consider one of the all-time greats in this category. Maybe you're thinking, sure he's cool, but is he really one of the best? Yes, he really is. Let me tell you why. Oh, and I'm mostly just talking about Shrek 1 here. I didn't feel like rewatching the sequels for this. In terms of agency, Donkey is a lot weaker than Shrek and Fiona, but he's still able to help out. He's the one who leads Shrek to Farquaad's castle, he helps with the wrestling fight against all the knights. During the dragon fight, he serves as a distraction while Shrek gets Fiona, accidentally seducing the dragon. He's the one who discovers Fiona is an ogre, and at the end, he gets the dragon to fly him and Shrek to the castle to stop the wedding. Even though he's physically useless and isn't that smart, he finds ways to help out. And whenever he's not able to help, the story finds workarounds to keep him from irritating the audience.
Run into the woods and find me a blue flower with red thorns.
Blue flower, red thorns. Okay, I'm on it. Blue flower, red thorns. Blue flower, red thorns.
What are the flowers for?
For getting rid of Donkey.
Ah.
I want to call out one particular moment that stands out to me. The lava bridge scene. Donkey is scared to cross and he freezes up, blocking the way so Shrek can't get past. Technically, this is a scene where a comic relief character hinders the main character's progress, and this should be frustrating, but it isn't because of how Shrek handles the problem. Look at how much fun he has messing with Donkey to get him to cross the bridge.
Hey, Donkey! Ah! Don't do that!
Oh, I'm sorry. Do what? Oh, this?
Yes, that!
Yes? Yes, do it. Okay.
Ah!
The takeaway for the audience goes from, look at how annoying and useless Donkey is, to, look at how funny and clever Shrek is. Donkey doesn't break the tone, and he has agency, but there's one specific reason why I think Donkey is the best comic relief sidekick. And it's actually the thing that I've been saying is something you want to avoid. He's annoying. Other characters think he's annoying. This would make him poison every scene he's in if it weren't for Shrek himself and the way the story is structured. Shrek's character arc is that he needs to learn not to isolate himself. He needs to figure out that even though he insists he's happy on his own, he'd be much happier if he had friends. And what makes Donkey so annoying? He wants to be Shrek's friend. He hangs out with Shrek even though Shrek keeps telling him to go away. This idea of a one-sided friendship is a pretty common comedy trope, but usually the comedy comes from the character violating boundaries and being a freak that nobody wants around. Donkey is a little overzealous, but he's generally pretty reasonable. He wants to be friends and he's nice to Shrek. Shrek is the unreasonable one. He totally overreacts. Watching them talk at the beginning of the movie, Donkey's being funny, but you also watch him and think, He's right. Shrek needs a friend. He should give Donkey a chance.
But you gotta have friends.
Stop singing!
Donkey is the heart of the movie. He embodies the lesson, the theme, and he's the one who explicitly teaches it to Shrek. After the misunderstanding where Shrek thinks Fiona doesn't love him, he goes back to his swamp to be alone forever. But then, Donkey shows up, and he chews Shrek out for giving up on love so soon. The whole movie, Donkey has let Shrek abuse and berate him, so it's so satisfying to see him finally stand his ground and say to him that no, you're the one who's wrong here.
You're always pushing me around or pushing me away.
Oh yeah? Well, if I treated you so bad, how come you came back?
Because that's what friends do. They forgive each other.
It's because of Donkey that the story starts, and it's because of Donkey that it has a happy ending. He might be the goofy side character who doesn't appear to do much, but basically the whole narrative hinges on him having an emotional core underneath all the jokes. Looking at all the bad comic relief sidekicks, one word comes to mind for me: thoughtlessness. The writers of these stories didn't consider how to integrate these characters into the story properly. They just wanted to make a character who was funny and didn't develop them beyond that. If you want the audience to care about what's happening in the story, then there needs to be a way for them to connect with all the characters of the story, to understand them internally. It's important that we get to know their opinions, motivations, struggles, even if they are just comic relief.
It's a movie. I'm a good guy. This has got to work. I'm a comedy sidekick. Oh shit! I'm a comedy sidekick. It's not gonna